Oh, yeah. Life goes on.
Does it count if it's a root beer?
Yes.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this rerun episode of Side 1, Side B. I'm Steve.
I'm Dave.
And Sean is doing something different.
Masturbating in a Starbucks.
Yeah, so
He
just
wasn't
us
on
today.
He wasn't on the one we were running anyway, so yeah.
Yeah. And Andrew, I'm assuming, is in that time suck void of being a dad.
Yeah. But yeah, this one was just one from the first season that I don't think got enough love in the moment. So this one was our episode for number 1 in Heaven by Sparks, which is a fantastic record that more people should listen to. For whatever reason, just didn't get as many downloads as our episodes around it. So we figured we would, while we're between seasons, just run it again and provide our commentary. As an episode, it holds up. I'm not used to how we speak and edit at this point. That's become a lot more organic than it was at this point. But
yeah, the big thing that I noticed is I've gotten better at allowing like dialogue to like breathe. Like I noticed that I've edited out pretty much every single like moment of silence. So I was comparing it to that Next Generation episode where Barclay's devolving into a spider and he's talking to Riker all fast. So
yeah,
I was originally going to re-edit this when we re-aired it, but when I went and checked the files, I think I saved over the original files. So unfortunately, all I have is the original one. So I'm going to clean up the audio, but
yeah,
it'll serve as a testament to my evolving editing skills or lack thereof.
not gonna George Lucas this. Yeah, Sparks is a great band. This is a good episode on it. I think I swapped out something to make sure that we do another episode on Sparks in the coming season. Looking forward to it. It was fun to introduce Steve to this for this podcast. Surprised that Dinger and myself didn't make him listen to something by them when we were in Gong Farmer, but there was nothing.
You might have, and I just didn't remember.
Yeah. Well, then there's like nothing, like Sparks was an influence for us, but there was nothing directly in our sound in that band that was really in Sparks either. So, yeah. I guess there's like some of the like kind of like the wordplay and sarcasm in a lot of the lyrics, but not like musically it didn't have a lot in common. But yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking when we were listening to the first track, I was thinking I could picture like the Alliterates doing something similar to that, but sound wise though, and I think I said this during the episode, but it really reminds me of a lot of the epicness in like prog metal and power metal. Like I could actually see like those fans of that kind of music like listening to this. Like it's obviously more stripped back. There's no like big giant epic guitars or anything like that, but like all the stuff like around it, it just a big aura of epicness that I think is really cool to hear outside of, you know, like standard electric guitar music, you know?
Yeah. It was the most of the two brothers that they ever were too, which is interesting. Like they had the session drummer and Gigi Moroder, but like it was the most of just the two of them than any other things before or after. So that was pretty cool.
Another note I wanted to give about the episode and us just sitting and listening to it together is it's like I see the podcast as a hangout simulator. So it kind of got really meta for a little bit when I was sitting there realizing that we were hanging out in real life, listening to us like over a year ago, hanging out in real life.
Yeah. And we're not like that different of people since then. Like we've gotten better at like the technical part of the podcast, but it's not like that different from
my like I think I said that like Beat the Clock was my favorite the first time around, and I still really like that song, but I think I've come into agreement with Number One in Heaven being my favorite track off of this.
It's just has such like an epic scope to it. And we listened a little bit to the bonus tracks on the anniversary edition. We didn't listen to all of them. What we heard though seemed pretty inessential. Like they're a little more stripped back, so it's interesting to be able to pick out different parts because not as much is layered, but other than that, they're not special. Yeah.
I'm really supportive of bands like reaching into the archives to make this kind of stuff, but I just, as a listener, I don't see myself like going to listen to specifically a single version.
Yeah.
Maybe if I wonder if there's people that grew up during that era that maybe might just be used to the single version because that's what they had. And
I heard the 4-minute version on the radio. I want to go listen to that. Yeah. Yeah.
From an archival perspective, I like it when bands do stuff like this. But as far as like a personal collection, like unless you're a mega fan, even if you're a mega fan, I don't see it being that different than like the standard edition of the album. Like I couldn't picture like listening to the second CD of those bonus tracks.
There's nothing on there that I liked better than the version that ended up on the album as a mega fan. So yeah.
One thing I will note though is we were trying to determine like a lot of factors have changed since we recorded the original episode. Like my stereo system's been upgraded. I'm still using like the same speakers that I had in my old setup, but I've added my dad's speakers and his old stereo system. And this time we listened to it through Tidal, and I think it's the recently like remastered edition because we were trying to determine like to me it sounded like it was tighter than like when we originally listened to it. And of course, when we originally listened to it, it was on vinyl. So I think it's been remastered since then. So I think there were just a number of factors that made this particular listening experience more enjoyable than the last one even. And I even thought at the time that the record sounded like ahead of its time, but like since that remastering, I think it's even more modern sounding.
Yeah. This is still my favorite Sparks record, and it has my favorite Sparks song on it, so it's definitely worth checking out. And all of the recommendations I gave at the end are ones that I exactly stand by as good entry points into the band, though, so check that out. Although they've released stuff since we've recorded this episode, and that's good too, because they are the hardest working guys who are either in their late 70s or early 80s, depending on when you listen to this. Because I don't remember exactly how old they are, and maybe you'll listen to it in a few years. So yeah.
I thought it was funny when we had your partner on the podcast, and they said when you met, they asked you for an example of like something new that you've been listening to, and you said Sparks.
Yeah, because they're putting out new stuff. Yeah. But since I do listen to a lot more music since then, like I have multiple albums from 2025 that I really liked, and I actually had a song of the summer of an album that came out this year, which was Bog Body by the Viagra Boys, and you should check it out. There's been like a lot of great music this year you can check out. I like the Viagra Boys new album. I like Wet Leg's new album. I like Pup's new album. So check all of those out. But yeah, other than me going out of my way to say I listen to new music, guys, now it's cool. This is definitely an episode worth checking out. I do buy a lot of what I get on vinyl tends to be older stuff, because oftentimes new bands, I will seek out their stuff on Bandcamp and download it to support them as directly as possible. Although I'll go to record stores sometimes too to get their stuff, but usually I'll want to get a digital download because easier to get onto my iPod.
I'm trying to think like what from this year that I've listened to besides you brought in the Viagra Boys record. Which is our second most popular episode at this time. I think it's going to catch up with Slipknot eventually.
Nice. It's our only current review.
I know. Oh, I'm bringing one in next season. The Peter Capaldi album.
Nice. Yeah.
The Doctor Who himself. He released an album that I think you and Sean are going to really like.
Yeah. I do feel like in 2016, 2017, I thought that the political state of things would lead to a lot of great new music. And it really didn't that time.
Yeah, it did during the Bush administration. But.
Yeah. But I feel like now in the current and the Grover Cleveland era of Trump, there is a lot of great music, like great protest music this time too. So it's just like, I don't know, we skipped one. But yeah.
I think everybody was just kind of like, oh, God damn it, really?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, like I think the great countercultural like moment in the Trump 1.0 era was stuff like podcasters did, which is very different vibe from like the Vietnam era where there's all this great protest music coming out. So yeah.
You don't think it was when all the celebrities got together and did Imagine?
No. I think no, like what I think was the height of the countercultural moment in the first Trump administration was the episode of Chapo Trap House where they went to CPAC and Will and Matt were both going to do acid, but Will was too off put by the whole thing to do it. So Matt just did acid himself and was laughing his ass off when Jacob Wool was trying to make his bullshit announcement about Elizabeth Warren's secret lover. But yeah. But yeah, no, like for the most part, like the first era of Trump didn't produce like great protest like music or movies. It was just kind of people commenting on it. And while I feel like our current era, we're getting a lot more exciting music and hopefully new movies will come of it. Movies take a little while to catch up to the current political moment though. So we'll see. Although there were a few really great movies in response to the genocide in Gaza. So we'll see. But yeah, I feel like we're rambling and getting off topic now. So this is one of I think our most overlooked episode of the first season. This was early in when we were bringing in guests. Like we'd had a few with guests before this, but we were really kind of finding our voice and getting used to working with people other than just the two of us at this point. I think it's a solid episode. I think it holds up other than how the editing sounds way off now compared to how we eventually started editing it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, for a long time, this episode was kind of swapping with the Samson episode for like the least popular. And right now it's kind of occupied mostly by like EP episodes. I think most people want to listen to like full episodes. So that's why I kind of see the EP episodes like keeping the lights on, you know. But since then, it's actually become the Red Fang episode that's the least popular, which kind of surprised me.
That is surprising.
Yeah.
That was early in season 2, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of our EP episodes are doing numbers somewhat now that I'm looking at it. I haven't checked in a while.
Nobody cared about poor Thomas Dolby, but
no.
the rest of them are all in the higher range. Yeah.
Yeah. Ozzy Osbourne one, not an EP episode, but the Ozzy Osbourne live one did some good numbers, but that's a rarity. Like you can't get that record anymore. So I imagine that led to some people seeking that out, even people who don't stick around.
My theory is on the Slipknot episode, that's our most downloaded one right now, is that when you look at the numbers, most people that come across it are coming across it on Spotify or I think a lot of them were Deezer too.
Yeah.
The more like music oriented applications, whereas most of our like listeners that come back are on Overcast or Podcast Addict. So my theory is people are looking for mate, feed, kill, repeat.
Yeah.
They're looking for that album. They can't find it because Slipknot's not putting it on streaming services. And then they see our episode. And I don't know if they like click into it and go, what the fuck is this? It's just people talking and they leave. Or if we're like their consolation prize, or it's like, well, I can't listen to the album. So I guess I'll just listen to these guys talk about it.
Yeah. Our heavy metal episode did a lot of numbers.
For a long time, I thought that was going to become the most popular episode, but it looks like Viagra Boys is getting pretty steady views after we got that released.
Yeah, interesting to see all this. I haven't checked in on this in a long time. Dinosaur Jr. is still doing good numbers.
Ace Frehley did really good because we released the episode that re-released the episode the day he died, or the day before anyway.
Yeah. Timing. Did we get any pissy comments about releasing it and that like people who thought that we did it because he died?
No, surprisingly, I thought for sure that we would get comments like that because when I synced the podcast up with YouTube, it uploaded all of our episodes. So for a second, YouTube was serving us in the algorithm, and we got a bunch of like angry boomer comments where, yeah, this is actually a good time to address something I wanted to mention earlier is we got a bunch of angry boomer comments about how we don't play music during the podcast. And it's like, I get it. Like if it was up to me, I would put the album that we listen to like in between segments for people to listen to, I guess. But like copyright just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we just don't want to deal with like copyright headaches. So like my suggestion is to listen to the album along with us, so you can like pause it and then put the album on, and then come back and listen to it, or whatever. That's
it's so easy to do this with streaming nowadays.
a lot of times in the description, if we review something that's not easy to find, I'll try to put a source for it. But yeah, there's just a big licensing headache, and I mean, we're just two guys that started a podcast in my living room. Like, we don't have a budget for this.
No, we don't make any money off of it, so we don't. Yeah, so it's not like we can put something we get from the Patreon into it, even, or anything like that. It's just pause the episode, listen to that half of the album. It's not hard.
Or listen to it however way that you want.
Yeah, I mean, when I listen to this podcast, because I got to give us our numbers because we're small and scrappy, I just listen to it all the way through because I've already heard the record.
I'm kind of curious how people approach it, because I'm not really a big podcast listener myself. I like Behind the Bastards, and I'll listen to like a lot of like history podcasts, but like my preferred method of entertainment like that is like video essays typically. So
I listen to podcasts because I can do other things while I listen to them. Which I suppose you can do with video essays if you don't care about what they show. So yeah, that's probably good for now. But yeah, enjoy our episode on Sparks, and listen to Sparks if you haven't. They are a treat that's really worth exploring.
Yeah, so we'll probably be back after Christmas. I don't know if we're gonna do another one of these. Like, maybe we'll ask Sean if he wants to rerun something from season 1. But if not, I guess we'll see you in 2026.
Yeah, Steve, what's our first episode of the season?
Our first one is on Spinal Tap.
Yes,
and we reviewed the movie and then the soundtrack, so it's kind of a double feature. And my favorite detail from that episode is Sean somehow managed to avoid watching a Laserdisc his entire life until he met me and ended up being on a podcast with me. So we popped Sean's Laserdisc cherry.
Yes. Yeah, we've got a really good season coming up. We've already started recording it, as you can tell. There'll be some great moments. We'll have more albums brought on by guests. So I can't even tell you what all is coming out that season, because I know what I'm planning on. Steve and Sean have told me what they're planning on, although we do alter these plans a little bit, but we're going to have a lot more wild cards, so it'll be fun that way.
Yeah, it'll be kind of a more general album season until season 4, where we're going to do all bad albums. And then, I don't know, I guess we'll decide after that if we continue doing themed seasons or if we go back to the general season. I know there's still a lot of like albums that I want to do that fit in the more general category. So I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah. But yeah, catch you on the flip side. Double this time, because you're going to hear that again at the end. Side 1, Side B with Dave and Steve. I'm Dave.
And I'm Steve.
And we have a guest with us today,
Andrew,
who is from our band, The Alliterates. We are bringing an album that Andrew brought this time. This is one that I also, though, know front and back, forwards and backwards. This is one of my all-time favorite records. Steve, what do you know about the band Sparks?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Zero.
Nothing at all.
Zilch.
All right.
Nada.
So they were the core of the band. Were two brothers from California, Ron and Russell Mail. Ron played piano and was the principal songwriter. Russell was the vocalist. They started out as kind of like an art pop, kind of Kinks influence thing in California. And then they decided to move to the UK and got in on the glam rock thing. My main source for a lot of this is there was an excellent documentary that came out a couple of years ago directed by Edgar Wright, who is most known for directing like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz.
I thought I recognized the name.
Yeah. They have a reputation.
That's facts.
Yeah. They have a reputation of being kind of like your favorite band's favorite band, and they are amazing.
So are they Black Sabbath's favorite band?
Black Sabbath definitely knows them.
I think Black Sabbath might be Black Sabbath's favorite.
That's probably true, yeah. But then, yeah, after having a couple really successful like glam rock records, they sound a lot like the more piano-driven Bowie records from that era, like Hunky Dory. But imagine that with like Freddie Mercury singing.
Oh. I like Freddie Mercury singing.
Yeah, they're really good. Then they tried to, like in 1977, they tried to do kind of like an American pop sounding record.
Yeah.
And with introducing Sparks, that ended up being like a commercial and critical failure. And they ended up being without like a backing band and just kind of out on their own. But before we get into where they got with this is going to be their 8th album. Andrew, what is your history with the band Sparks?
How I got introduced to Sparks was we had this excellent punk rock dive bar in town called Brothers, and they had an album, Best of Sparks, in the jukebox. And so I would often play Sextown USA and Angst in My Pants when we used the jukebox there.
There were so many good songs on that album.
It is an excellent album. The other thing that I do remember happening was buying Angst in My Pants as a tape when I was on a road trip with friends. And heading back from a concert, I apparently was a little bit silly, and I kept playing Mustache on repeat.
Was that when you had the mustache and would wear cutoffs all the time?
Often it was. Those were some good times listening to Sparks.
They were.
A lot of how Sparks sounds in terms of their hits sounds a lot like indie pop in a surprising way.
Yeah.
This album does not.
This album was a huge change in direction for them. This one, yeah, they didn't have a full backing band. They, off stage, they kind of bullshitted their way into working with legendary producer G.G.O. Moroder by telling him basically that they had a deal for him lined up for the next album when they didn't. And it ended up working out. But yeah, the musicians on this one, it is just the two brothers with some help from a session drummer and Moroder himself and like some other people helping with like additional synth programming and backing vocals. But this is pure electropop disco at this point. This was a complete change in direction for them.
So imagine an indie pop band in 1979 putting this album out. It feels very cutting edge, but also, in my opinion, a little bit more cohesive than some of their other albums in terms of feel for the album. Sparks is very funny just in general.
Yeah, they were one thing that I kind of left out in my description of like Hunky Dory David Bowie with Freddie Mercury on vocals was that they tended to be a lot more clever. Both Queen and Bowie would oftentimes, like be a lot about kind of straightforward songs about things, while Sparks were a lot about, like jokes and wordplay and puns and things like that.
And at the same time, Angst in My Pants, for example, is a fairly straightforward song in terms of meaning and symbolism, but also very fun.
Was Angst in My Pants a reference in your Gong Farmer song?
It was. Angst in My Pants is a later album. We will get to, at some point in this podcast, we're going to do more Sparks. We're going to do some of their earlier glam stuff. And then some of the, after this, they did another kind of like disco album like this, only they added some guitar to it. Then after that, they decided they didn't want to tour anymore with all like the sequencers and setting up all that kind of equipment and wanted to do more of a straightforward band again. And they did kind of like a new wave thing for like 5 or 6 albums. They're still around. They're still putting out stuff. They've done all kinds of records still. They are an amazing band. Like if you watch the documentary with them, you get all kinds of fun interviews from all kinds of different musicians from all kinds of different genres because they ended up being incredibly influential. This record in particular is what led me to my theory that Joy Division would have eventually sounded like New Order, because this album was the favorite, came out in 1979, about the time Joy Division's first record came out, and then while they were starting to work on their second one, this was a favorite of Joy Division, especially of their drummer Stephen Morris. And so I think this would have eventually been what Joy Division would have landed on if Ian Curtis was still alive.
Interesting.
That's a bold take, Dave.
And I'll defend it if anyone wants to argue it.
Let's post on the Joy Division subreddit.
But is Black Sabbath a Christian metal band?
Yes.
All right, well, let's take a look at the cover art here. It looks like you have a promo copy because somebody nicked it here with a bandsaw. But on the front, we got a picture of a scientist, kind of, with... I'm blanking on what those things are called.
I'm going to guess microscope, stethoscope.
Microscope.
Yeah.
That's a brain fart. So I guess a scientist here with a microscope, a spark plug, which symbolizes that this band is Sparks. And then on the back, it's pretty much the same thing, but with a different model. And minimalist.
Yeah. Name of this album is Number One in Heaven. You should look at the inside sleeve and look at the brothers' mail. How would you describe them?
Somebody has a Charlie Chaplin mustache. And
Yes, that is what he said that mustache was.
And the other one looks like Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah. Eventually, Ron Mail got tired of being compared to Hitler when he really was going for Charlie Chaplin. And by the 80s, he was doing a John Waters mustache, which was probably the better choice. But yeah.
I forget which comedian it is, but my dad quotes him all the time when he's like, Hitler put a kibosh on that whole mustache thing.
Yes, this is the only person I know of who tried to do that mustache after World War II who wasn't a Nazi.
Michael Jordan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Michael Jordan did that. That was embarrassing.
Yeah, that was...
Yeah.
Well, buddy, we don't always make great decisions, do we?
No.
Okay, well, let's take a look here at the first side. We got Tryouts for the Human Race, Academy Award Performance, and La Dolce Vita.
Yes.
So we got 3 songs. You mentioned this one's on the shorter side. So what kind of songs are these 2 sides distinctly different, or are we going to be expecting similar things on both sides?
Pretty similar things on both sides. This is one album that I think is consistently good all the way through.
Yes.
There is one song that I consider kind of filler, but it's good. That one's on side 2, but the best song of the album is the closer, in my opinion. So it's all good.
And it's
this,
a very tight album.
Yeah.
And this producer, that's the name of the guy on the Daft Punk record, right?
Yes.
Random Access Memories.
He's a very well known. He was one of the pioneers of synthesizers and bringing the instrument and like the kind of sequencing you could do with it into dance music. One of his best known songs that he worked on was "I Feel Love" by Donna Summer.
Yeah, on Random Access Memories, it was a very untraditional song because it's basically just an interview. But I really enjoyed not only what his history that he went through when he was talking about that song, but I remember reading how he talked about using like different microphones depending on the era that he was talking about. So that's an interesting connection. That's cool to see.
All right, let's get it started.
Side 1.
And we are back. Steve, that was the first 3 Sparks songs you've heard. What did you think?
I really liked them. I thought that they had a really great energy. It really reminded me of some of the kick-ass music that I'd hear in like JRPGs on the Super Nintendo. And that's really cool. But also at the same time, it kind of, in some ways, reminded me of like European power metal in a way, probably because of all the arpeggios and stuff going around.
Sure.
So it's like power metal without the metal part.
Yeah.
I could easily see, I don't know, like Nightwish covering those first 2 tracks at least. Academy Award winning performance. I thought Tryouts for the Human Race and Academy Award Performance in particular had a sense of urgency that you'd hear a lot in a genre that utilizes arpeggios like power metal would. So
yeah,
I thought that was really interesting. And La Dolce Vita was a nice change of pace from the other 2. It slowed down a bit, and then towards the other half of the song, it kind of brought those elements back in. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. One of the things I really like about this particular, like this band does this a lot, but this particular era is to keep your ear during, like these songs are slightly longer than their glam era. They went from doing like 3-minute songs to 6-minute songs at this point. And so, like, to keep your ear, they would start out with a kind of simple part and then just kind of keep layering different sequences in over it till at the end there's just like a bunch of things going on.
Reminds me a lot of our process in Lucid Fugue, although I'd imagine this came out in 79, right?
Yep. This may be a major influence on me for when I do like more repetitive electronic music, this album in particular.
I could hear that. I'd imagine back in 79, it was probably a lot harder to sequence things than like what we do today.
Oh, yeah. Like now what we can do on the computer, like you've seen the pictures of like the modular synths with all like when they create like this is a patch and it'd just be like a giant wall filled with a bunch of chords. That was that era. But yeah, each individual song, go through them a little bit here. Tryouts for the Human Race. Love that bass line. The do. That's beats per minute. These are really fast songs. These are great songs to have at a dance party. They keep people moving. They are not so short that people are clearing the floor out.
worked great for my ADHD brain. Like, never really got boring, and then when it got to the point where I thought it might have been, it changed to a different crazy arpeggio. So
I did feel that it would have been more appropriate if I was moving around rather than, sitting in a comfy chair. But
that's why
here I am. So
I stood up while we were listening to it because I have to stand up while I listen to this unless I'm driving. It is good driving music too, though.
Oh, sure.
Tryouts for the Human Race is fun too. What do you think that song's about?
I assume it's, I don't know.
It is a POV song of sperm.
Oh.
That's why they're 250,000 strong.
Yeah. And then there's the line, I just want to be someone. It's just, it's a song about sperm.
I don't think I've ever thought about life from the first person's perspective of a sperm. So that's interesting.
Yeah. It's a great way to open up the album too. Like it's
weird. It's oddly compelling. I don't know.
And like,
and
if you look at this whole album, you can also see it as kind of like the life cycle because it begins as sperm and it ends in the afterlife with heaven. So which we'll get to when we get to the last song. But yeah, Academy Award performance, a lot of fun. It's about an actor.
I either imagined it was about that or I assumed it was sarcasm of some kind. But
yeah, with Sparks, there's often irony and stuff. Yeah.
And they also seem to talk a lot about like gold diggers and alimony and stuff, which sure, go for it.
Yeah. La Dolce Vita, has a lot about gold diggers and alimony, and it has like some kind of casual nihilism at the end by repeating the refrain. I'm going to read it word for word just so I get it right. Life isn't much, but there's nothing else to do. La Dolce Vita.
Nihilism.
Yeah.
We're nihilists, Lebowski.
But yeah, there's kind of a reason why, even though they were never part of the punk movement, Steve Jones from the Sex Pistols was one of the interviews that featured more heavily in the documentary that Edgar Wright did about them.
There's something I really like about cynical, nihilistic pop music.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. And like you can just kind of enjoy it at the surface level where it seems like, oh, this is a fun song. And then when you get into it a little bit more, oh, looking real bored is what you pay me for. La Dolce Vita. It's great. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're recording this on the same day that we released the Cabaret Voltaire episode, and I was listening to that album while I was editing it, and I really loved the irony of the song "Why Kill Time When You Can Kill Yourself," and a lot of that same type of humor I could tell was on this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One thing I thought was interesting just in terms of the feel of the album, especially with the first two tracks versus La Dolce Vita, is there are a lot of frills and arpeggios which are fun to listen to, which is great. The groove of the song for the first two is really driven by synth bass, and on La Dolce Vita, it's more an electric bass.
I did notice that too when I was listening to it. It switched vibes, which I think is welcome because it helps break up the album. But yeah, I noticed a distinct difference that you're pointing out here.
I probably would have liked a little bit more a funkiness to the groove of the electric bass line, but there's enough going on in the song anyway that it might take away from that. So
yeah.
That's just kind of my taste, though.
Yeah, my favorite song on this album we're yet to get to. But I think my favorite, like, as much as the bass line drives these songs, my favorite bass line is Tryouts for the Human Race. That's just, it makes you want to get up and dance.
It does.
It made me want to get up and then go collect the 7 crystals so I can go fight God himself and dethrone him. First person perspective from a piece of sperm, that's not something they would have tried in a JRPG because they would have known they would have gotten censored in America for it. But that is like an anime plot. It kind of reminds me of the plot of the game Earthbound.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. On a personal level, I still can't get over that Final Fantasy VII is basically you're the hero, but you're in a terrorist group that's bombing nuclear reactors. And that's all right.
That is all right. So there's this book called How to Blow Up a Pipeline. Anyway, we are going to move on to the next side. But yeah, this side, what you have to look forward to is you have another like kick-ass dance song to open it up. And then you have kind of like a little weird experiment for the middle track. And then Number One in Heaven, I'm just going to let you experience and not tell you what to expect for it.
Andrew, are you going to rock out with your cock out?
Maybe. I'm going to try and keep it a little bit low-key this time. We got into a weird tangent there. I don't want to end up in too many watch lists, so,
Well, it's marked explicit, so just letting you know.
Yeah.
All right, flip it, Dave. Flip it good.
You doing what's up?
That would be a really, really fun change of pace. All right. We rolling?
We are.
All right, we are back, and that was side 2 of Number One in Heaven by Sparks. Steve, what did you think?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed side 1 a little more than side 2, but side 2 I also thought was quite enjoyable. So take what you will of that. My favorite track was probably the opener.
Beat the Clock?
Yeah, Beat the Clock.
Probably one of the shorter songs on the album, too, just kind of straightforward stomper. It is. Edgar Wright was talking about what his favorite songs by the band was when he made the documentary and was doing, like features for the Alamo Draft House and all that to play before the show. That was the one off this album that he said was his favorite, too. So you're in good company there.
Yeah, and then the other two I also enjoyed quite a bit.
The Other Voice, that one was the least dancey song on the whole album. It was just kind of a slow song. It seemed to be like, I still think that calling it The Other Voice was a reference to let's play with the vocorders the most on this one out of any of the others.
I think what's interesting to me just about the album as a whole, it does feel, to me at least, more of a concept album than a lot of other Sparks do in terms of cohesiveness. A lot of other Sparks albums are mostly about hits, is what I would say, which is why Best of Sparks is fantastic. There are always a lot of good songs, but on this side, it was interesting to Beat the Clock slow down from the first side a little bit while still having a consistent dance beat, and then it moves on in a little bit of a slower direction until they bring back in the sound, and when Number One Song in Heaven really hits that second part.
Yeah, Number One Song in Heaven is my favorite Sparks song ever. That's just such a fantastic song. The synth choir sounds ethereal. It's my favorite Russell Mael vocal performance, too. Just like the way he hits the high notes and that it really complements just, the heavenly chorus sounds that the synth is doing. I love like the slower part before the break, and then like when it hits the break and hits like what is that, like 180 BPM probably without looking it up, just like it's a perfect song to conclude a dance party with, because like at the beginning it's at the end of the night, everyone's exhausted, they want something they can sway to, and then the sway part kicks so much ass that when the beat drops at the end, everyone just gets that second wind to just finish off the night with just like a big high energy dance where they're dripping sweat everywhere and flinging it across the room and singing along while holding their partners. It's an amazing song. My best moment with hosting a dance party involved that song. That when I lived at the old punk house that I lived out for a big chunk of my 20s, is one time on New Year's Eve, we put this song on. We didn't time the beat drop right for midnight because that's kind of hard to do while you're hosting a party, but we had it so that the song was slowing down at the point when midnight hit, and so everyone got to do the countdown and then toast to cheer, kiss, and all that, and then like right after it got through like the toast and cheer and kiss and all that, it picked back up again into the dance part, and everyone was smiling and sweating and joyfully dancing their asses off. It was an amazing moment.
That sounds really cool. Overall, what I really liked about it is it had a pretty diverse range of songs, I'd say. There were some really fast ones, there were some like slower ones you can groove to, and then it closed out with a really epic song, I'd say.
Yeah, and they never did exactly this kind of thing again either. Like, because their next album was still kind of like a electronic disco song, but they brought in the electric guitar with that in some, and then after that they decided that they didn't like playing live with this kind of setup and went back to playing with the full band again. So this was a small moment, but one of their most influential moments. It was interestingly enough, it was kind of panned in the UK press at the time of release because everyone thought they were like jumping on a trend a little too late, but it ended up being like in the long term probably their most influential album. It really, kind of picked up, and it kind of anticipated like where things would go with synth pop in the next couple of years. Like I said earlier, Joy Division loved it, especially Stephen Morris. It was the record that Joy Division was listening to when they were recording Love Will Tear Us Apart, which also has its own like cool synth stuff with that Bernard Sumner made himself from a kit. And so I really think when you look at documentaries where different like synth pop bands are asking like what they were inspired by, their answers are Wendy Carlos's soundtrack to A Clockwork Orange and Sparks' Number One in Heaven.
The big question I have to ask is, since this album came out in 79 and Kiss's disco album came out in 79, I mean, we're just gonna have to listen to both to see which one was better.
Yeah, we are.
So
Dave, get the chains, because Andrew, you're staying for overtime.
Well, it's funny too is the bands that really pulled off disco were the ones that had pop sensibilities to begin with. It was like really the best ones were this album and then Blondie when they did like Heart of Glass, which Heart of Glass came out on the Parallel Lines album, which I think was 78. We're gonna do a Parallel Lines episode at some point, but yeah,
Sure.
Dave, you have heard Megadeth's attempt at disco from our project that never got off the ground. So who did it better? Megadeth or Kiss?
Let's say Megadeth.
Someday we're going to do the Risk album again, and then you'll be able to say that line that you were proud of.
Yeah. But yeah, this was a very forward-thinking album. It's my favorite Sparks album. Other people have a different favorite Sparks album, and there's a lot of right answers.
Yes.
Yeah, Andrew, what's your favorite Sparks album?
Angst in My Pants just has a lot of great hits on it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun to listen to front to back, although I do love the hits, especially.
Yeah, Angst in My Pants is really good.
One thing I would say about this album that's interesting to me, and I should probably learn a little bit more about music history and things like that, but this is a little less than a decade after Lola versus Power Man, for instance.
Right.
And I mean, Kraftwerk Autobahn 74, 5 years after that. It's just very different than what was coming out then. And it's interesting to think about a lot of the changes that have happened over the history. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, since one of my favorite things to do is to listen to bands either panned or underrated or forgotten albums, is there a Sparks album that would fall under that category?
Yeah, probably Big Beat, which was near the tail end of their glam era. That one probably would be the one right before this one, introducing Sparks, where they're going for more of a conventional pop sound. That one's kind of overlooked too. It's a good album. It was just kind of panned at the time. They had such a long career. Like they're still active.
Yeah, I looked up their Wikipedia page, and it's funny to see the picture of them because they don't really look like they looked when they were younger.
If you really want to see like their overlooked stuff, I would go towards the end of certain eras. Like a lot of times people will know like the beginning of their glam phase or the beginning of their new wave phase. But
honestly, I'm going to leave Indiscreet here for you to listen to if you want. It's very different. And I'm not saying that's an overlooked album or certainly not a bad album. It's a very good album, but they've just put out so much stuff. It's hard to say, well, this is one that wasn't really loved as much.
Yeah. It was like right in the middle of their glam era, so it's not the one that people remember, but it's also not one of the ones that people are starting to get sick of it for.
But it also was $2 at the record store when I bought it, so that should tell you something.
Yeah. An interesting album by theirs, it's not an overlooked one necessarily, but an interesting one is one called Plagiarism, where they work with a lot of like bands that respected them and just kind of like basically cover their own stuff.
Oh, cool.
And so like I'm going to look up who all they had on it because it'll be interesting. Faith No More, Erasure.
Oh, wow.
Jimmy Somerville, Tony Visconti. They were like, very wide ranging, well respected bands. And like, you will be surprised at like, when you look into it, like who all cites them as an influence. Like if you can think of a genre, you can find an influential person in that genre who lists Sparks as a major influence.
Yeah, I could hear a lot of different types of music from all sorts of genres in this that, I could certainly see somebody from back in the day that you may not even necessarily, you would expect to listen to this kind of music, but I could see, listening to it just because it had so much variety. I think, a lot of times when you hear about dance music, you just kind of think of, the most generic examples. Like whenever anybody says disco sucks, it's like, well, you probably mean the most obvious examples of it.
Yeah. Like the kind of novelty disco hits that a lot of people knew, like, Disco Duck. Yeah, that did suck. But there's a lot of like cool stuff going on with disco and it really pushed the forum forward. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like this, I think this is one of the best starting points for the band Sparks. This is a great album. Like other good starting points, though, for jumping on some of the better known ones too, like Kimono My House, which was the one, like their big breakthrough with the glam stuff. It was the one with their probably best known song, which is This Town Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us. I really like, we've talked about it before, but Angst in My Pants, it was like their second new wave one, but where they really started to gel with the backing band they'd assembled. Like the first one that they did with that band was good, but this one, it really comes together more, and it just has like a good solid string of songs. And then I think one that people really should check out is their 2002 record, Lil Beethoven, where they incorporate more like chamber pop and like classical music instrumentation to it. That one, like my favorite song off of that one is called My Baby's Taking Me Home. And those are all the lyrics to it, but it's delivered like differently throughout the song with different senses of urgency and like the instrumentation doing all kinds of interesting things. And it is kind of designed as an exercise in how you can deal with lyrical repetition, but with musical variation. But yeah, they have a lot of good albums. They have some albums are better than others, but they're also one of those bands that never really bottomed out in any way. There's times when like the critical establishment ignored them more than others, but there's hidden gems throughout all of it, and they put out so many things that I haven't even heard all of it, so it's just worth exploring. And it's also never hurts to get started on a best of album, because you can kind of find the songs you especially like and then check out the albums that they're on.
Yeah, I think a best of album for a lot of bands, especially one with this much legacy, a greatest hits album or a live album is probably the best way to go.
Yeah, their first album came out in, what year was that? 1971. So they've been at this for quite a while.
This one I do, like I said, it's a cohesive album, which I really like. A lot of the time it does feel like they're chasing the top of the pop sort of thing, which is fun. But this one lands a little bit differently because of how it's produced.
All right. Anyone else have any more thoughts on the record?
I do not.
All right.
Cool.
Well, since Andrew plays in our band, Andrew's Pluggable is our Pluggable, so you can catch all the information on how to access that on the little bumper at the end of the show.
Or check the description.
If you are interested in Sparks or want to know where to go next after listening to this album, I just gave a bunch of great recommendations, but also really do check out that documentary by Edgar Wright. It's very good. It's called The Sparks Brothers. And also, if you're interested in like reading up on them, they have put a lot of information out there. They do interviews pretty frequently, and you can find them online or on their own website. But yeah, this was Side 1, Side B with Dave and Steve. Catch you on the flip side.
Enough to have them headphones like those funded podcasts. Production. Check us out on the interwebs by going to my website, killrockmusic.com. That's KILRAVOCK music.com. And there's a tab for Side 1, Side B. And additionally, you can check out me and Dave's projects, The Alliterates and Lucid Fugue, respectively. You can also check us out on Instagram at KillRockMusicSWS and Dave_Diction. Thank you.